Hello and welcome to Perspectives, a cultural journey from here to there. My name is Tyler Burke and I'm the founder of Omnian, and I'm joined today by Chris Garcia, my good friend and director of training here at Omnian.
Thanks, Tyler. Happy to be doing this with you. This is going to be fun.
Always good to, and for the first time, be on camera with you. It's new for me and good time so far.
Cool.
So week one, the journey really begins with moving from the idea of being the authority to being a supporter. And a lot of times it's not just a verbal statement, but it's really a feeling and a posture that I'm the one in charge, as opposed to, hey, I'm here to assist and accommodate you. And that really is a pretty fundamental shift and one that deserves some discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to acknowledge that us saying that feeling of being in charge can have like a negative connotation, but that's not what we mean. It's kind of the nature of your job. Sometimes when you're tasked with being in charge of people, you feel then like you're in charge and you're the decision maker. And so again, doesn't mean that you're a bad DSP or a leader at your agency.
And there's an important distinction. I think you can be the responsible person or have some responsibility without being the dominant one in control.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's an important distinction. And I think we can recognize that there is definitely a responsibility and to provide perhaps oversight or monitoring or to be the one with who is responsible, but it can look very, very different.
So let's take a look at our perspective on this, which is moving away from being an authority means shifting our mindset from doing for or managing people supported to doing with, enabling and supporting people's choices, even when it's different from our own preferences.
Yeah. I think that a lot of times we do this in a way where we're just trying to even limit people's struggle.
Yeah.
Or limit maybe a failure, if you will, that we may see coming, or seeing somebody really have difficulty with something. Yeah. So a lot of times we do for very well intentioned because we're just trying to take stress or burden off of someone, and a lot of times we miss the value in oftentimes the struggle and even failures that we all experience as human beings.
Yeah, and Tyler, so one of the things that because I've talked to a lot of people who've been doing this a long time, like ourselves, and we always look back on the mistakes that we've made, yep. As we've learned more, as we've become more informed. And I always look back to this incident, and it was probably about 20 years ago or so, where I was the supervisor of a day program. And so every year we took a trip to San Diego. And so we took about, 25 or so people from the program to San Diego. We were there for a few days. It was always a highlight of the year. And so after a long beach day, we all go to McDonald's, right? And all the people that were on this, all the people supported, they're in line at McDonald's. And it was taking a little bit longer. And I was in the eating area, kind of just watching everything. Mm-hmm. And I noticed this patron started to come in and line up behind the people that we brought. They were starting to look like it was taking a long time. And I don't know, man, something inside me clicked, like this nervous reaction. I made everyone get out of line. Come on, everyone, out of line. And everyone was kind of confused. And I remember a staff person actually pulled me to the side and goes, "Chris, you don't have to do this." And I said, no, this is the right thing. And, when we were preparing for this, that kept running through my mind. And I thought, gosh, I did feel like I'm in charge, especially with the label of supervisor, right? You're in charge. That's what they tell you. You're in charge. Yeah. And I understand it now, the responsibility of that. Yeah. But I took it as, well, no, I'm the decision maker too here for everybody, right? Yeah.
Well, go a little bit easy on yourself. I mean, we've both been doing this a long time, and I think we probably have more stories of failing than successes. And honestly, I can widely attribute that for both of us to just having a lack of perspective and access to information back then. We were doing the best we could with the information we had, and we didn't know better. Yeah. And that's really sort of a key component even of this series is simply having a real conversation about some real things, and getting folks some access to maybe some perspectives that they just don't have access to.
And Tyler, that's why I'm really excited about this,
Yeah.
because I think that a lot of people will find that, yeah, that we're not just talking heads. Like, we've done this, we've had different positions and agencies, so
Yeah.
we can speak from a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
And so I think the knowledge of understanding the shift is this, right? In the field of supporting people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, we must recognize the pervasive and traditional authority-based practice that exists all too often and on so many levels. A foundational concept we will discuss along this journey is the idea of moving towards cultivating a system that's centered on empowerment, partnership, and advocacy. Rather than directing, controlling, or making all decisions, direct support professionals are called to facilitate choices, honor self determination, and focus on the strengths and preferences of the people that they support. Now, that sounds really good, but why does it matter? Why is it important?
Yeah. And I will say before we move on, I know this
Sure.
does specifically call out direct support professionals, but even in the previous line, we're talking about cultivating an entire system.
Yeah.
As direct support professionals, they being the ones in direct contact, oftentimes that is immensely important. But if there's no support from the middle managers, executives above them, even from possibly funding sources, it's going to be a very, very difficult change to make without the entire system sort of jumping on board.
Sure. And again, we have to acknowledge that there may be some of you watching this and you're thinking, I don't get that support. And you may be 100% correct. Let me say this: all you can control is the environment you work in, right? And your behavior will affect that.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, that you do your part and what you can control. And the reason that all this is important, again, at whatever level you're at, is number one, there's empowerment,
Yeah.
right? And when you empower people to kind of do with you, what you're doing is you're increasing their self-esteem, their autonomy, their quality of life. And when I took those people out of line at McDonald's, I didn't do any of that. Right. And I know it sounds like I'm being hard on myself. I just realized that now, and it's become a teaching opportunity for me now. But yeah, they weren't empowered at all. We talk about person-centered practices, right? That it leads to better outcomes and more meaningful relationships. And then we talk about current regulations and ethical standards, and ethical standards, I should say, like those from the National Alliance of Direct Support Professionals, which emphasize dignity, respect, and the rights of people to direct their own lives. Tyler, before we address the skills and the habits needed to shift from authority to supporter, let's touch on motivation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the motivation for shifting from I'm in charge to I am here to assist and accommodate is rooted in a powerful truth. Real support doesn't come from control, it comes from connection. For the person supported, this shift means dignity, autonomy, and the right to live a life of their own design. When we replace imposed decisions with supported choices, we foster confidence, independence, and a sense of self worth. Empowerment isn't a feel good bonus, it's a human right, and it's essential to the well being, growth, and inclusion of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. For the supporter, this isn't just about being nicer or more flexible, it's about becoming a true ally, someone who uplifts instead of overrides. Supporters who operate from partnership rather than authority experience more authentic relationships, deeper trust, and fewer conflicts. They also fulfill their ethical and professional responsibilities. This mindset isn't just fluffy philosophy, it's a strategic, compassionate, and evidence based approach to better lives, better outcomes, and a better system. This is how we move the needle from control to collaboration, from compliance to choice, from managing behavior to honoring humanity.
I love that.
Yeah.
And when I think back to when we really have a conversation around motivation, I instantly go back to what was my motivation when I was a DSP, when I was far less informed, when I had
Yeah.
really no idea what I was doing. Though I was probably a lot better early on than I was at the
Yeah.
end, to be honest. Just to be probably overly transparent, but I remember the way that I looked at um, really what motivated me to get through the day was just that, trying to get through the day, hopefully without conflict,
Hmm.
hopefully without a behavior, hopefully without something kind of going off the rails. And a lot of it was really based on how easy can I have it
Sure.
today, right?
Sure.
And I think that's probably a fair concern when we start talking about, for some anyway, when we talk about moving out of a position of power and control and authority, is, man, my day's going to go completely off the rails now, because then they're going to do whatever they want. And I think that one that's terribly devaluing
Sure.
and judgmental, but it really does sort of expose, I think, how oftentimes we disrespect people that we support, thinking that, well, without us, they can't obviously have a good day or something.
100%. And you know that it's hard to, when I say that disrespect, it's, I don't think that disrespect is intended though, right?
No,
It's just, we come into this, I think a lot of us wanting to help, but yeah, we think that, well, and my help is going to make them have a good day. So I'm
yeah,
essential to their day.
yeah,
And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's totally devaluing. If I would have known how to be an ally and a partner,
yeah,
I know for sure I could have had a much better impact in the lives of people I supported,
yeah,
all those moons ago.
yeah,
Yeah, 100%. And just to hit on one point in this is not fluffy philosophy.
mhm,
It's not, and I think it's important that people know that this is practical, applicable things that we can all start today.
yeah,
That is, I'm convinced no matter what your role is in our field is going to benefit everybody,
yeah,
people supported and us.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I will say, just to probably round out my earlier comment,
Yeah.
it's not bad to want to avoid conflict. It's not bad to
Yeah.
to want things to not go a little wonky on you. It's just the having the understanding that it's not the control and the authority that keeps that from happening. That it's very possible um, that coming out of that place of power and authority is the way to actually help our day go easier, because the people we support are happier. They're in
100%.
control of their life. They're living a life of their own design.
Absolutely.
Right? It actually helps that mission come to fruition,
Yeah.
if you will. This is the better way to do it, and
Absolutely.
is a win-win. In getting into this next piece of how do you take those standards, those ethical standards and things spoken of NADSP and others, but what does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. Well, number one, probably the most important habit and skill, and we talk about this, and it's in a lot of our classes, avoiding power struggles.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's so easy to get into a power struggle when you feel like you're in charge.
Yeah.
Do this.
Yeah.
Take out the trash. Do your chore. It's time to sit down and have a therapy session, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things that Tyler and I have been talking about is this maxim called proposition is more effective than imposition.
Proposition is more effective than imposition. Proposition is more effective than imposition. Bob, it's time for your shower. I don't want to take a shower. Leave me alone. Bob, it's time for your shower. Take your shower now. Leave me. I'm not taking a shower. Leave me. And you all know how that sort of thing goes. But if we turn it into a proposition, giving Bob more control over the situation, Bob, would you like to take your shower before dinner or after dinner? Would you like to take your shower before you go to bed, or do you want to take one in the morning? It gives people a sense of control over their life. the control that we all want over our life. So if we can have the person come up with the solution and the answer, they're more likely to buy off on it.
And that's something you could start doing today,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It requires you being very intentional, but it's very easy to do. Offering choices to people, like real choices to people,
Yeah.
not always just based off maybe the clinical information that you may get in a service plan, but other options just because they're new and they're different.
Yeah.
We talk about shared problem solving, right? Rather than you coming up with the solution for a person, which, by the way, again, sometimes you feel like that is your job to actually do that. And I respect that, but think about how much better it may be when you include the person in that decision making or problem solving process, I should say.
Well, and I don't know about you, but I learn more from making mistakes than I do from just getting
Yeah,
it
me
right
too.
or being told how to get it right. And I think that there really could be a practical skill of allowing somebody to make what we already may know is not like a decision that's not going to work real well. That's okay. We can create an environment where people can try new things, try out their own ideas. And when it doesn't work so well, I guarantee they're going to remember that a whole lot better than if you just dictate to them what to do and then they comply.
Absolutely.
Right.
Talk about self-check. And that's like checking in with yourself once in a while. Sometimes you have to allow yourself to sit back and say, okay, what went well today? Maybe what could I have done better? How could I have better supported this person?
Yep.
Congratulate yourself too, because that's really important, but also look and be very honest with yourself. What can I do better? How am I feeling about this? Man, I remember so many times, Tyler, back in the day, like having to restrain people. And I remember, even though I felt like I had to do it, like I would kind of feel bad after and feel kind of weird, especially as a young man and not being fully in tune with my emotions at
Yeah.
19, 20, 21, 22. It's,
Yeah.
but you do feel that. And I wish someone would have told me about self-reflecting rather than just pushing on and going on, because I think it's important to what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason that you were feeling that. And certainly as it relates to restraints, I mean, that's traumatizing to the person being restrained
Yeah.
as well as the one doing it.
Yeah.
So I think anytime we have those feelings inside, we should take a step back and ask,
Yeah.
is there not a different way?
And most times you will come up with a different way because
Yeah.
you don't want to feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Active listening. And we always talk about that. Again, that's really, staying quiet and actually letting the person finish before you even think about what you want to say. Really, that seems to be one of our biggest barriers to active listening, coming up with the response really quick.
Yeah.
Again, that does require a lot of intentionality, right?
Yep.
Really hard to do. And then positive risk taking, or what's come to be known in our field as dignity of risk. And you kind of alluded to this earlier, allowing someone to fail. And listen, guys, we're not saying, like something that's going to put them in real danger or, something like that. I mean, we're just talking about normal, everyday things, trying something different, asking someone on a date. Rejection hurts, but it's part of life, and allowing someone to just live life on their terms sometimes with the risk of failure and again, like you alluded to, is the biggest learning experience ever.
Well, and that really is ultimately what we're getting at is
Yeah.
assisting people in living life. And it's really that simple. And it doesn't just mean complying with time occupying activities.
Yeah.
Right. But really just living life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's discuss habit triggers.
Yep.
It's important that we realize much of what we do as supporters is habitual, ingrained behaviors shaped by repetition, training, and often the legacy of authority-based models. But habits aren't destiny, they're patterns. And patterns can be changed when we become aware of the triggers that cue them. Habit triggers are the moments that set a behavior into action. They can be tied to location, where you are, time, when it happens, emotion, how you feel, people, who's present, and the preceding action, what just happened. If we want to shift from managing to supporting, We need to recognize these triggers and choose different responses, ones that promote autonomy, collaboration, and dignity. So let me give you a few examples of habit triggers and then how to respond differently. So, when we look at the trigger of location, let's say it's at the medication cabinet. The old habit might be to automatically give instructions. Take your meds now. A supportive response instead would be, would you like some water or juice with your medication? Or are you ready for your meds? Do you want a few more minutes? Let's look at the trigger of time. It's 8 a.m., time for your chores. The old habit, okay, come on, let's get those chores done. A supportive response, would you like to start with laundry or dishes today? Or what's your plan for chores this morning? The trigger of emotion. You feel rushed or behind schedule. The old habit, become directive. We don't have time for this. Just put your shoes on. The supportive response, pause, breathe, and say, how are you feeling about getting out the door today? Or what can I do to help make this easier right now? Let's look at the trigger of people. A supervisor walks into the room. The old habit, shift into performance mode. Let's all follow the schedule now, please. A supportive response, continue interacting naturally and respectfully. Hey, we're working on making a grocery list. You want to help us decide on dinner? And when we look at the trigger of preceding action, the person supported hesitates or says no. The old habit, override their decision. Well, we have to do this. The supportive response, validate and collaborate. I hear you're not feeling it right now. Do you want to talk about what's making it hard or try again later? Identifying your personal triggers is the first step in trying to rewire our responses. The second is intention. Before you act, ask yourself, am I responding with the person or reacting to the situation? Is this about control or about collaboration? Would I want to be spoken to this way? When we understand and reshape our habits, we can change our old autopilot, our old automatic response, if you will, and start building trust, partnership, and true support. That's the work. That's the shift. That's how we move from here to there.
I love this. We all too often talk about the antecedent of the behavior of the person we support.
Yes.
Right. And there's all, and you can take that way down the sort of the side of analyzing the ABCs of behavior and things, and it's always about the person's deficit and what they're doing wrong. And how can we figure out what's going on and adjust their behavior. This entire section, is about our behavior.
Yes.
And our antecedent, if you will, right? Our preceding action. And that's the focus. And I think that's so important within this entire series that we're going to be doing is the analyzing of ourself and how can we change and be different and how can our behavior change in order to get the results of better support and things we're doing. So I love the whole concept of this.
Yeah, for sure. And the idea that a habit being something that you say or based off an emotion really was something that I looked into a lot because most times you think of habit as like this physical skill habit. And and it just really reminded me myself of falling into these traps of responding on this old autopilot. There's a lot of times, Tyler, when Sunday is my day off, and my wife will get up and she wants to do yard work early in the morning, and I automatically assume that's her way of telling me without telling me, come out and let's go do yard work. And what I realize is my habit is, oh, what are you trying to do now? Is that what are you just trying to get me out there? And in reality, she's trying to give me space and do something she enjoys by herself,
Yeah.
probably without me out there trying to run things or do whatever, right? And then and I think it's easy to just get caught up in those in that old autopilot.
Yeah.
And man, yeah, no, this is really an eye opener, and I think if a lot of people really look into this, they'll realize that too.
Yeah.
It's easy to just get caught up in that old autopilot negative responses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we talk about trauma responses a lot and things,
Yeah.
and and I think, sort of in a related note but different. It's really important to understand that we do have built-in responses that we just do without even thinking about
Big
it.
time. Yep.
And it doesn't have to be due to drama. It just has to be. It just is how we've come accustomed to do it. And it's a relief. When we start to really get into this, and this, the statement that we made, habits aren't destiny.
Yeah.
They're patterns, and patterns can be changed. And I think that's just that's a beautiful statement, and it's something that we've really got to remember, right?
Yeah.
Habits aren't destiny; they're patterns, and patterns can be changed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And words are important, right? How we speak, what we say, and especially with regard to what we're talking about, right? In supporting people, and how does your communication convey support rather than control? And one of the things that we always say is using inclusive language, right?
Yeah.
So if you weren't using inclusive language, you may say things like maybe a lot of us have heard or hear, you need to, or you have to do this, or you better do this, as opposed to how can I help you with this, or what would you like to do? Again, when you think inclusive, sometimes even hand movements help us talk inclusive from out to in type of inclusive hand movements, right? Sometimes even just being aware of that, I've noticed just as doing public speaking, even that gives the vibe of inclusiveness sometimes.
Yep.
And it kind of helps you connect it up here too. How about acknowledging preferences? Why are preferences, do you think, Tyler, so important for?
Well, I mean,
because we say choices.
Right. So, and if we kind of bring it back to even what we said a couple of minutes ago, you can give someone a choice of pizza or hot dogs, but they may hate both. Maybe they're tired of having that every single week. I mean, our life and the way that we structure our lives is based upon our preferences.
Yeah.
Right. And most of the decisions we make are based on our preferences. And if the people that we support don't have that same access and freedom to have, I mean, that's not a life that I would want.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the standard that we really need to be always coming back to is, would I want someone to talk to me like this? Would I want to, have the experience that this person who we support is having? And if not, why am I expecting them to do that? It's not okay, right? I mean, the standard should be the same.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes back to preferences, I mean, that's something that deserves exploration, because maybe the person doesn't have many preferences because they haven't been exposed to new things.
Yeah.
Right. So what a liberating thing to do would be to actually help someone develop their own life preferences. Come on, that's a job that is exciting to wake up
Absolutely.
to go do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We also, and Tyler and I have been talking about this recently, the idea of nonverbal communication.
Yep.
And what we communicate through that. Yeah, you can communicate openness, acceptance, inclusivity, but at the same time, you can
Yep.
promote divisiveness,
Yeah.
Intimidation.
Yeah.
Even just by looking at somebody hard, or,
Yeah.
we talk about nonverbal skills. One of the ways that you communicate control are things like the silent treatment. And people don't always think about that, right?
Yeah.
Where now you make it contingent, you make your communication contingent on whether or not this person does what you say, or makes you happy, or does what you want them to do, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to be fully aware of that as well. And they talk about open body language. And sometimes, again, if someone's escalating, take that into mind for whatever. Doesn't matter if you think that their behavior is escalating over something that you think is silly. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Take that passive stance with palms showing. Create some distance. Maybe not even stand directly in front of the person, off to the side a little bit, just to not be confrontational, right? And then using the inclusive language like we just talked about.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea of I'm in charge is more often than not communicated through body language.
Yeah.
And certainly if you see
Sure.
somebody start to get aroused or start to get, sort of escalating into a scenario, the last thing we want to do is come in on, over and in a posture of authority and control. Because there again, we're initiating a power differential, or we're experiencing a power differential, but we're also initiating that power struggle. Right.
Absolutely.
And it could be as simple as simply backing away, maybe shut up, stop
Yeah.
to, talk less,
Absolutely.
and listen a little bit more and get in touch.
And I think, Tyler, just to wrap that part up, if anybody that's watching this has ever been in a situation where you were upset and someone closed the space on you,
Yeah.
you either balled your fist up or you ran.
Yeah.
Right. So we know that feeling.
Yeah.
So why would we want to put that on someone else? Right. Because they might do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then we talk about affirm rights and autonomy. And probably the biggest thing here for me, and I think this is something that should be practiced with people supported, maybe even as an outcome, as a goal,
Sure.
is that it's okay for them to tell you no.
Yep.
And I think sometimes, like I said, even talking to the person about that, telling them you can say no. I don't care what words come before no, after no, if they're flowery curse words, whatever, no is good.
Yep.
No is okay.
Yep.
And I think sometimes that kind of takes on the idea of non-compliance, right?
Yeah.
And it's,
well, I
maybe
love
that's good.
No, I love what you're doing there. I mean, we're not only giving room for people to say no, but to celebrate it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what they're doing in that moment, right? I mean, they are taking a stand for their preferences. And even if it makes our day a little bit harder, or it's going to maybe make us run 5 minutes late or something like that, so what? So what? The bigger picture is empowerment and the feeling of empowerment from the people we support.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like was kind of mentioned earlier with regards to leadership having an important role in this culture shift, right? I mean, as a trainer, I have been to many agencies, not only across the state in Arizona, but in California. And yeah, they're out there. There are agencies with bad cultures. There are, and yes, it goes from the owner of the company all the way down typically. But and now I've also seen really good agencies. And what I've seen a lot from agencies that model appropriate, good, healthy cultures is that the leaders are not afraid to, when they're present in the environment where people are supported, they're not afraid to get involved. If someone needs assistance, I have seen the owner of a company go and help somebody, assist them with eating. If someone needed help in the bathroom, I've seen leaders go and not say, "Hey, Chris, go change so and so." They're like, "Hey, where's this? Where's this? I'm going to go help this person in the bathroom." And as someone who's been on the end of seeing leaders do that, man, it means everything when they are willing to do that as well and not pass it off.
When I think modeling this goes beyond just modeling it with people supported, but also modeling it with the interaction between the executive or the leader and the people they supervise, right? I mean, there's an entire shift in mindset that can take place there, where if the leader chooses to not be the dominant, overpowering force, but they come in and, how can I assist you? How can I help you be more successful in whatever role you're in? That's a drastic shift that probably has the opportunity for impact beyond anything that I know of.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Tyler, this one, policy and training. Now, Tyler, you had owned your own agency, and now a provider agency, and now you own this training agency. And you have mentioned to me that you've heard people in our industry say things like training is a necessary evil.
Yeah. Not only just about it, but even to me.
Yeah. What? I mean,
well, I think that it's there is a component where it can be expensive.
Yeah.
And I think anytime there's a cost that can be reduced, we're looking for that. There's a lot of agencies just in absolute survival mode right now, and a lot of times training gets the it plays the role of compliance. It's a compliance issue. It's a compliance sort of thing. Just get them through that, and then we'll get them out there, and then they'll just, they're going to realize what the job is entail. What the job really is when they start anyway. They're not going to learn it in training or whatever the idea is there. But I think that, and even to the point of this series, it doesn't have to cost a lot, and it doesn't have to be complicated, time consuming and everything. I mean, it's the reason that I got into training after I left my agency. I think that there's a reality that's becoming more and more known that training is perhaps the greatest missing component in our field, not just a BS compliance measure.
What do you say to a leader of an agency who hears that and goes, yeah, but it almost feels like they don't want to invest in their employees. What's the benefit for an agency investing in their employees through training?
Well, I mean, again, I think if the culture of that agency is just to occupy people's time, then they're probably not going to invest in training. But for the agencies and the leaders out there that are looking to actually make an impact on people, even to how we started out, this conversation today, there's an ignorance issue out there, and there's a lack of access to information. And once people have that, we can really, really make a real impact on people, beyond just well-intentioned sort of, kind of hit or miss.
The beautiful thing about ignorance, right? That lack of knowledge is that you can get the knowledge and you're no longer ignorant.
There's an easy fix for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And feedback systems, right? I think as leaders and agencies, of leaders at agencies, that they do create systems where people can provide feedback, whether it's middle management, DSPs, even the people supported, right? I mean, again, so many times I think as a leader at an agency, it's easy to think that that there's a program that this person has to fit into, rather than how do I create a program that fits this person, right? And so feedback systems may help create that.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, just recognition of people is always nice. And, sometimes it is just a simple, hey, man, I like what I saw there. I like what you did. Yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah, let's try it. What do you think? Of course, people do like the recognition. Monetary recognition is always good, but the verbal works too.
And I think it's important to throw out there, as it relates to recognition as well, for the people that we support. It's pretty common practice, or you see a lot of high five, buddy, good job, whatever, and sort of positively reinforce all of these behaviors that we like and all of this. Well, I think it's also important to recognize that maybe something to consider for everybody providing direct support is the idea of simply just celebrating people, even randomly, just for existing, just for being. Not always contingent upon some type of good behavior, not always contingent upon them complying, but just celebrating another human being because they're there.
That's a really good point.
Is, it needs to be talked about more.
Absolutely. Man, that's 100%. That's a very good point. And then I think just an agency leadership committed to just getting better. Trying to find better ways to do things, because again, just looking back as someone who's been an agency leader, sometimes it is very easy to just go and have your day programs and your group homes, and they run and they go and everything kind of stays status quo because everything's good, right? And being motivated to want to get better is definitely helpful, from shifting from authority to control.
And I think it's important that we recognize too, I mean, this is a difficult time to be in this industry right now. I think almost everybody is in some type of survival mode. There's policy changes, there's, rate changes and cuts and things. I mean, like, this is a very, very turbulent time within the field of human services, and that can be a difficult time to, be discussing conversations of quality that isn't going to have any type of financial impact.
Yeah,
when we're just trying to, basically pay the bills, if you will. But I think it's probably the time when we need to be most intentional to not let survival thinking get in the way of the services that are being provided. So no matter where you are in this cultural journey from here to there, from authority to supporter, let us all move forward. And I'm going to leave you with something, and we call it the one thing. And we're going to end every session with this. And it's a statement that we can all say to ourselves, and hopefully we say it to ourselves on a daily basis. And it's this: today I choose, in my role, to assist people in getting their needs met. It's the one thing. It's the one thing that if you and I do on a daily basis and have that perspective, that view, we can get from here to there.